Test. So, I talked about an experience in the first two videos I made, and this was about during the 2010 awakening, which was in 2010. This is basically a death machine, a soul trap, and I described that I was strapped to a table and hooked up to this device and beamed with energy by a specific faction of a specific agency which handles basically the transitions between Earthlings and Hell. That's their job. And sometimes they describe themselves as the boundaries between light and dark, that if you go from light to dark, then they greet it with open hands, usually, with knives in them. And so they had me strapped to a table, and this has happened before, but nothing like this. It happened often through my childhood, being bounced to different timelines in operation, basically being used as a tool for the dark. But so hooked me up, and I described it as being pushed out into time. It's like this: they hook you up, they basically tie you up technologically, they tether you, and then they unplug you and kick you out. Not you, but that's what they do to people, and that's what happened to me. So I go home. On the way home, driving, I get smashed by a semi, torn apart, die. Wake up, back at the table. So try again, unplug me, kick me out. I walk slowly this time. I drive cautiously, don't get hit. Go home, open the front door, some guy shoots me in the head, die. Wake up, back at the table. Try again. Do the same thing, repeat. Live longer this time. Live for maybe a year. Go to college. Wake up one day being strangled to death. Die. Wake up, back at the table. So this went on for years. Got to the point where I was becoming old. Get kicked out, go home, live my life, meet someone, get married, have kids, die. Wake up, back at the table, try again. Think of getting away that easy. This went on until my soul was separating from my body, and I was basically dissolving. And they have to have your permission to do that. And so it was, the soul can only do that. It turns away from this realm. And so at the end of that, when I felt myself dying, I felt my soul dying, basically going to hell. There was no return. I knew that once I died at the table instead of at one of these other places, that it was going to be for real. And it wasn't a physical death. I had died 100 times, 1,000 times. It was actually a soul death. It was a ontological, a philosophical death, where my energy no longer had the desire to continue on in any experience. And so at that point I cried out, basically to God, to a Deus Ex Machina, to the truth, to the love. I can talk about it a lot more. I don't get as choked up. I used to get choked up as soon as I would get to this part. After it happened, for probably 3 or 4 years, I would just start weeping and completely bawling. A lot of it with joy. And so the sky basically opened up, and it was like some type of shining light It's literally like you took a hammer and you cracked the sky, and the hammer was made out of light. It was a type of, I don't know, and the crack sound, the ching of the hammer striking was sound harmonics, and it was a blaze of light, of bright white light, and that made a shooting explosion, like star asterisk explosion of light. And in that crack, people came down and basically said, nope, get off him. He picked us. You don't have the right. And in that moment, I saw the glory of the universe, because it's a free will universe. And they were only doing what they were doing because I hadn't expressed my deliberate, clear free will to go with light, to not play that game. And that's not a polarity game. That's life and death. That's hell or above. Trust me. That's not a polarity game. They take souls, they dissolve them in machines, and then they eat them. And then no one comes back from that. So, apparently it can't ever actually work because souls are immortal. Or eternal. Or at least they're immortal, actually. Once to get to eternal, or what would be eternal, soul's no longer a soul. It's like a cosmic being, spiritual. Or it's a soul monad. It's a bunch of souls tied together, make a big being. So those beings came down, shining, happy, not infected, not sketching out like, oh, what are you doing? What are you looking at? And stabbing somebody. It was just, because it's a free-for-all at these events. Anybody there does whatever they want. Eating somebody, killing somebody, raping somebody, it's whatever. It's a show off. You guys sit there and crap your pants if you wanted. And then they guys show up and they're just like, alright, get off them. And that's an order. And only when they have jurisdiction, you know. Like, nobody really bosses anybody around. It's simply just, he made clear decision. And nobody wants to go to war. Anyway, it's not an ego thing. It's not an ego thing. And, so I've come to realize that wasn't a device. It was, but it wasn't. They have big portal devices that open up little jet streams. And I've seen these. They showed me them before. There's a video that's coming out. That'll be out in at least soon. And we talk about all this technology. How one of those devices almost blew up. Shut down because I overcharged it. And I also realized those factions, they're from hell. They're not like midwayers or we're trying to do good and we're defending Earth, and it's a dark universe out there. They're from hell. They're Hellions. They're literally from hell. They're demons in human form. So anyway, I realized that environment I was in, it wasn't a device. They were actually letting me go and letting me live and killing me off in a timeline and bouncing me back to that artificial dimension and doing that until I died in 40, 100, 1,000 timelines. And the goal was to kill me off on as many as they could. And once they do it on all of them, I no longer have an incarnative existence on Earth. At least they kill me off on enough where I can't expand and catch up, because there's infinite. Well, it's technically not, but it's virtually the same way, because it's like a balloon or somebody, I don't know, like something like a baby growing. More timelines. They just grow back. So they killed off 1,000 of them. So then I had 2% of what I had originally. So that means it took me 10 years to regrow back, give or take, to regrow back 50% to 80% of those timelines. So now I'm back to 60, 80, whatever percent it is of the original. They grew back. I expanded it. I took another deep breath in. After so many years now, I'm spread back out over various layers of the Earth, or of Earths, which is just a kind of environment. And so their goal was to shrink me down to 1.1% or 0.00001%. Then I'd have the power of pinky, if you will, of what I had before and what I have now. And so, but I realized those weren't simulations. Those are Earths that they were killing me off. And that was something they reserve at the very end for people who don't give in and or they resist, and they don't want to go with them. But they can't do that, because if they do that fully, the person dies. But if the person doesn't die, they usually call upon the light, and then the gig's up, the whole thing's revealed, and they know it's not that, oh, you're from hell? Darn, how'd I figure that out? It's, wait a second, you can do all this, but these guys can stop you just by telling you to stop? It's a free will universe. You can't do anything. Me, having free will, I have more power than you. And if I align with the light, I have more power and technology than anything you can have. You literally can't do anything. We can literally shut you off. So that's what it is. There's a lot of information need to come out now. So just hang on. And that's what that experience was. And that was just a few minutes. I think the event was condensed down to 5 minutes or so. It took, probably must have been a few thousand years for me, because I was getting tossed from life to life. I'm telling you, towards the end there, because it starts out as just 2-minute lives. They kill me right outside the facility. And then it would go on to like 2-year lives. And then it would be like 20, then it would be like 80 years. And towards the end there, and then there's like 10 80-year lives. 10 2-year lives, so it's like a spectrum, turning the dial up, which is what they were doing. They were turning dials and stuff to do this. It's weird. It's a device that projected me out into time, and but was capable of tethering me and drawing me back, so I couldn't really get out. But towards the end there, it was continuous 80 years at a time, over and over again. It's like, what? I thought I was gone, and then, nah, gotcha. And so that's enough to make a person want to basically give up. But if, don't give up. And so it was hundreds of years, hundreds of thousands of years. And that wasn't even the long one. There was one that we were in for 100,000 years. And these were in different worlds that they own. They turned into colonies, slave colonies, sex colonies. And so, more to come. We've got a deadline here this year. This year's a deadline. Wake up. And the media is the octopus. It's basically, it comes out the TV. It's a plasma hive mind entity plugged into the TV and all of that. There's going to be a lot of information coming out about the how the media works. It's a projection system. The next work that's going to be put out is going to explain a lot. It's going to take a little bit to get it out, though. I might just put it raw at first, just so people can have access to that.